You're watching CW Montana. This is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Andrea Lutz. Ahead tonight, Montanans say railroad tracks are tearing their town in half. And tonight, the railroad is responding to that. It's coming up. Plus, a bill that aims to protect sexual assault survivors sails through the legislature. We'll explain the goals just ahead. But first, the fire season already occupying Montana fire crews and experts already weighing in. New details tonight from fire experts ahead of our state's fire season. We're learning our season might be pretty active, but maybe not as active as previous years. The National Interagency Fire Center released its fire outlook for April. Experts say Montana sits above average for any significant wildfires through the month of July. But the agency also says minor changes in our weather pattern could change everything. Above average precipitation could result in more lightning-started fires, which of course can lead to out-of-control fires taking off. And this new fire outlook important on a day when fire crews were forced to ask for mutual aid when a grass fire got out of control, this happening near Lolo. Missoula Rural Fire District responded to the call on Manor Boulevard. They say windy conditions helped fuel that fire, and it soon got out of control, causing fire crews to then ask for help from Florence Fire and the DNRC. There were nearby homes in the area, but nobody was evacuated. The fire was controlled in about 50 minutes. Now taking a closer look at drought conditions in Montana's water supply. Experts say water levels are good despite the unusual winter. The northwestern corner of the state abnormally dry right now, but most of the state is currently not in a drought. Officials say February snowpack made up for a previous dry winter, but the winter really rough on calves and spring melts could cause more problems.
We got a lot of water yet to move, and so there could be a lot of flooding impacts, a very wet landscape to work with, which could affect movement and management of animals.
And officials saying that they're paying close attention to how spring flooding is affecting the Midwest United States. That's where Montana beef is often marketed. Flags will fly at half-staff in Montana, ordered by Governor Steve Bullock. This in honor of Montana firefighters who've lost their lives from a job-related illness. This after a 20-year fight comes to an end as a bill to provide workers' compensation for firefighters lands finally on the governor's desk. Well, shipping by rail, it's a pretty big industry in Montana, but there's concern tonight over wait times and how emergency responders deal with being stuck at railroad crossings. MTN's Cody Boyer takes a look at the industry.
So far, I've had to wait about 10 minutes since this started up. My car is parked on the other side, and that's the way that Montana Rail Link likes to keep it. But for others who live in the area who are just trying to get to one side or the other, they say these wait times is like cutting the city in half.
They cannot cut towns in half like that.
Lindsay Callistad commutes from her home in Manhattan to work in Bozeman every day. So when she says she comes up to the tracks and finds a train blocking the way, she's not the only one inconvenienced.
Manhattan has 2 railway crossings that get you from one side of town to the other. Lots of people, kids jumping through the trains while they're stopped.
For Lindsay, her main concern, time.
The fire department, the police station are both on the south side of the tracks. 90% of the town is on the north side of the tracks. In emergency situations, every second counts.
Actual blocked crossings where the train is not moving are not very common.
Ross Lane, Chief Communications Officer for Montana Rail Link, says these issues do happen, though, and can stem from miles away.
There can be situations in which it does go longer than that. Anything from weather to mechanical difficulties can cause a train to stop.
He adds that MRL does try to work with law enforcement and first responders.
We know we do affect people's lives, but we do work with 911 and different first responders. We actually have the ability to break that train. We do keep track of complaints when people call in.
Lane agrees there can be an issue, but MRL cannot pay for public infrastructure. So the Rail Link will try to listen, while folks like Lindsay hope they are heard.
We will do our part to try to minimize those disruptions, but we also encourage people to contact their city, county, local, or state government to talk about different infrastructure improvements that can be made.
We just need to shed some light on it and get the spotlight out there to say, okay, now's the time.
Anyone who does have the complaint or want to file one can do so by calling that number. In Manhattan, Cody Boyer, back to you.
Thanks, Cody, for that. Well, Montana continues to rally behind a Montana Highway Patrol trooper shot last month in the line of duty. So starting tomorrow, Montana Highway Patrol offices across the state will have bracelets available, and they're in honor of Trooper Wade Palmer, who is recovering at a Salt Lake City hospital. He was shot March 15th while searching for a shooting suspect. The shooting left one person dead and 2 others injured in Missoula. New leadership at Kalispell Regional Medical Center after the former hospital leader passed away from breast cancer. After a tumultuous year, Craig Lambrecht is promising transparency. He starts his job at a challenging time after 2 lawsuits just last year. Well, the hospital recently reached a $24 million settlement over overcompensating physicians.
There have been a lot of things going on over the past couple of years, and there is no ill intent from anyone, but things happen. And looking forward and not looking back, developing a culture where people trust each other, the community and the region trusts this institution is absolutely critical. And that's probably my first priority, is building a culture of trust.
He does credit the Flathead community for helping to make his decision to take the job pretty easy. Lawmakers are running against a deadline to put final touches on a massive $10 million state budget. A key element is something called a companion bill, where money and programs are stuffed into bills at the last minute. Lawmakers placed 9 pages and $38 million into the bill. Critics of the process say companion bills are used to insert spending or pet projects that didn't get approval in the regular process. Well, some leaders insisting, though, that the process is an open one.
In terms of transparency, I think this is actually an advance to the system. Back in the day when just a couple people sat around after House Bill 2 had passed, and they had 2 piles of bills, ones that were in, ones that were out.
It is scheduled to finish up no later than May 1st, but could wrap up by next week. And a bill to revise sexual assault kits sailed effortlessly through the session. The bill aims to lock in the progress of the current sexual assault task force, continue to regulate how cases are investigated. The bill accomplishes 4 main goals: develop a timetable, give victims a bill of rights, establish a 4-year mandate for all kits to be reviewed, and develop a tracking system.
I think that's an important step so that survivors feel like they have more information about what's going on. We've heard a lot of survivors say that they just felt cut out of the process in the past, and so we want to definitely improve that.
Governor Steve Bullock has actually signed that bill. He did so on Tuesday. Well, tonight, the daughter of a Great Falls woman is speaking out. She died from West Nile virus. MTN's Elizabeth Transu tells us how the daughter wants others to be aware and take precautions.
She was the happiest when she could go to the mountains.
Lisa Lahan describes her 75-year-old's mom, Carolyn, as outdoorsy, loving, and a little bit stubborn.
She was a happy person. She enjoyed her family and her friends.
But never in a million years would she think her mom would contract West Nile virus.
Because it's a disease that doesn't happen that often, people they hear about it and say, oh, wow, and then they just go on about their day.
West Nile virus is carried by infected mosquitoes and transmitted through bites.
We just feel that people need to know just how devastating it is and what it can do to a person.
According to the Cascade City County Health Department, in 2018, there were 11 confirmed cases of West Nile virus in the county. Symptoms include fever, headache, body aches, joint pain, vomiting, diarrhea, and a rash. But it's estimated only 20% of those infected will develop symptoms.
She really wasn't her anymore. She was imagining things, seeing things, had some really strange ideas, and I had to reassure her that no, this was not happening to her. She thought she was somewhere else. She thought there were people there that weren't there.
Carolyn would spend 4 months in 3 different hospitals and a nursing home before the virus took her life.
You really need to be aware of the mosquitoes.
Just 1 week before her 76th birthday.
If you, as a person that lives in this community, don't feel that your county or city are doing what they should be, you should let them know.
In Great Falls, Elizabeth Transu, MTN News.
We do want to let you know that Cascade County Public Works say that they have already started spraying for mosquitoes. Still to come on tonight's MTN 9 o'clock news, it is the way of the future. Well, we are talking about solar power. After the break, 2 ambitious projects that harness the power of the sun. And our own Bob McGuire, he knows a thing or two about sunshine. He tells if it is going to stick around across the state. That's after the break.